Today. It was around this time 2 years ago when we ran a very similar event, and I'm feeling a little bit different to how I did at that time. So that was the briefing event for our 2016 Women in Innovation Awards, and that was the first time we'd done any sort of programme that was targeting women only. So I was very excited. I'm also very excited today, but I was also very nervous about what was going to happen as a result of that. We didn't know how the programme would be received. We didn't know what sort of application response we would have, and we didn't know what the quality was going to be like in terms of the applications that we received. So it's just so brilliant to be here today. The reason we're here today is because of the success we've had so far with the programme, the success that the women we've supported have gone on to deliver. So because of that success, we're here today. We're here to talk about new awards for 2018. So we've got a number of people in the room here today that I'd like to introduce you to. So you've already heard from Emma, who's from the Knowledge Transfer Network. Myself, so I'm Head of Diversity and Inclusion Programmes at Innovate UK, so this is one of my programmes. Emma Markham, give a wave, Emma, who's going to be talking to you later. She's Portfolio Manager, Team Leader, and she's looking after this programme. We've got Helen Feather. Give a wave, Helen. Also in the competitions team. And then we've got a number of people who are innovation leads, so who are looking after the industrial strategy grand challenge areas, who are in the room here today. And they'll be available for you to talk to later on in the networking session. So we've got Johnny Voon for AI and Data, who's waving at the back there. We've got Alice Goodbrook and Eve Ayres, although I can't see Alice, this is Eve. We've got Gina Wren for Ageing Society. And we've got Gabrielle Newson for Future of Mobility. And then Camilla, again, who I can't see in the room yet. Oh, no, she is. She's down at the end there. Camilla is the campaign project manager, so a very important person for you guys to know about. Alice Goodbrook has just walked in the room. So, by the end of this session today, you should understand the scope and objectives of the awards for 2018. You should understand the application process and the criteria we're going to be using to make decisions on the awards. Understand the application requirements and be very clear on the timelines and deadlines that are involved. And all the presentations from today will be shared with you after the event. So what I want to do is just kick off with a little bit of an overview about Innovate UK and our work on diversity and inclusion. I then want to tell you about the work we've done so far on women in innovation, and then really go into more detail in terms of the awards for 2018. So just to kick off then with a bit about Innovate UK, we are the UK's innovation agency, and we're essentially here to support companies to innovate. So we help them commercialise ideas and technologies and turn those into new products, services or processes. And we do that in two main ways. We fund and we connect. So we provide funding through grants and contracts mostly, and we enable single companies to work alone, or we enable companies to work in partnership with that funding. And with the Connect, this is about helping businesses find the right partners, so to work with other companies, to work with academic partners, to find investors, or it may be about helping companies to access world-class facilities and equipment that can help them take their ideas through to the marketplace. We are a non-departmental public body. We're a government agency. We were established in 2007, so last year was our 10th birthday. We joined a much larger organisation called UK Research and Innovation in April this year. So we are now part of an organisation with 7 research councils and Research England, and our combined spending power as UKRI is 6 billion per annum. We get our funding through the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. We are growing in size. We've grown significantly in recent years, and we are now over 400 members of staff. When we started out in 2007, there were just 40 of us. The people that work in Innovate UK are mostly recruited from business, so they understand business, they've got a business background, At the moment, our interim executive chair is Ian Campbell, and he used to be our Director of Health and Life Sciences. Our main offices are in Swindon. We've also got offices in London. We're also out there in the regions, and most of the staff from Innovate UK are actually what we call field-based, so they don't have a fixed office space. They work a lot from home and out in the field. This slide just shows you a summary of what we have delivered over the 10 years. This was taken from last year, our 10th birthday. This is some of the data that we drew together. So in that 10-year period, we had invested £2.2 billion into UK companies. For every pound of Innovate UK money invested, that had brought back to the UK economy £7.30. For each organisation we had invested in, that created 8 new jobs. And overall, we'd supported 8,000 unique organisations. We're very proud of the work that we've done so far, and we're looking to continue and build on that going forward. So that's just a really high-level intro to Innovate UK, but why is diversity and inclusion important to us? Well, it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. We are here to support the best innovation, and we know that the best ideas for innovation can come from anybody. So it's really important that we continually look to engage new people, find new organisations to work with, and find those ideas, those great ideas that if we don't continually reach out to those new audiences, we won't tap into. There's a wealth of evidence now about the business case for diversity. We know that diverse teams are more creative, they're more innovative. We know that companies that are diverse are more profitable. So the McKinsey Diversity Matters series of reports, the most recent report that they published back in January this year, looked at executive teams in global companies. And that showed that companies that had more gender diverse executive teams were 21% more likely to outperform their competitors. And companies that had more ethnic or cultural diverse executive teams were 33% more likely to financially outperform their competitors. So there's a wealth of evidence, reports all the time that are demonstrating this very strong business case for diversity. In the UK, we are considered to be one of the most diverse nations in the world, so we believe very strongly that we should be doing more to turn that into an economic opportunity for the UK. And we really started in earnest looking at this area back in 2016, just before we went live with our awards in 2016. So in terms of our priorities and objectives around diversity and inclusion, number one, overall, what we're trying to do is boost the economy, and we believe strongly that by promoting and enabling more diversity in business, that is going to help with that. We need to build our understanding of the challenges and opportunities to get more diversity into business. And we need to do that so that we can work out what we need to do as an organisation to make a positive difference. We very much have been using communications, a campaign approach to reach new and diverse audiences, get them to hear about Innovate UK, get them to engage with the support that we can offer them. And it's been very much about creating role models, new role models, who are relatable role models for innovators. It's about taking positive action, and mostly that's been through awards. And we've been looking to find future leaders. We're looking for exciting ideas that we wouldn't hear about if we weren't doing these particular targeted campaigns, and providing tailored support, the right support at the right time to help individuals realise their full potential. It's very important that we work in partnership. There are lots of organisations operating in this space. Many of them have a lot more experience than we do and have been doing it for longer, so we should be partnering up with the right partners who share our overall ambitions. And that's in the UK and worldwide as well. And very importantly, we need to be able to demonstrate impact. So we've got to keep building this business case, the evidence about how diversity is good for business, because in order for us to keep doing these programmes, we've got to demonstrate the positive impact of the work so far. So, just to give you an update on what we have done and what we've achieved with women in innovation. So against those objectives that I've just talked through, building understanding of challenges and opportunities. So this is an ongoing exercise. We're continually engaging with the community, continually reviewing the reports, literature that's coming out. In terms of the work that we have done, the new research we've generated, we did some interviews with women innovators back in 2016. And we found that a third of the women that we interviewed felt that being a woman had a negative impact on their career to date. We heard them telling us that being part of groups and networks was incredibly important. Being part of the right groups and networks was incredibly important for their businesses to be successful. The power of role models, of mentors came through very strongly. We heard that women feel that the biggest challenge facing them in terms of getting success for their businesses is securing funding. We know that women are less likely to seek forms of external investment. When they do, they often seek lower levels of investment than male counterparts. And we know that there are issues around the private investment side of things. So men are 86% more likely to be venture capital funded for their businesses, and they are 56% more likely to get angel investment for their companies. And that's one of the other areas that we're looking at is increasing diversity in the angel investment side of things. And then there are lots of statistics about the opportunity to boost the economy by getting more women engaged. Deloitte have done some research looking at this, and they said that if we could provide tailored support for female founders, then that could provide a 100 billion boost to the UK economy. So programs like our Women in Innovation Awards are directly addressing that and helping to get that 100 billion boost that we think we could deliver. I talked about campaign approach. This has been a really, really important part of the work that we've done to date, running alongside the positive action that we've taken. So for the awards in 2016, some examples of the work that we've done to sort of engage media and really to tell the stories of our award holders. At the beginning, when we made decisions on who we were going to give the awards to, we ran a media event in London to launch the award winners to the world. And then we held a reception at the National Business Awards, which was a black tie event, a big celebration after that. And then at the end, we had a showcase event in London to coincide with International Women's Day this year. And then we also had a reception at the House of Commons that was very well attended. One of the most successful things we did with the awards last time was we had a partnership with Getty Images. So a very talented photographer that works with Getty Images, Amelia Trubridge, took photographs of 12 of our award holders. Fantastic photographs. It was all about challenging perceptions of who and what an innovator is and getting more relatable role models for women innovators. The photographs were turned into an exhibition. The exhibition was shown in the Getty Images Gallery in London for a 2-week period in July last year. And since then, we've been taking that exhibition out and about across the UK to major events. So it's had a lot of coverage. In terms of the media coverage, we've had a huge amount of attention from the media, a lot of interest in our work on women in innovation and in our award holders and their stories. We estimate the combined reach of that coverage to be around 700 million. Some of the most, I guess, notable coverage we had that had the highest impact was the Getty exhibition I mentioned. That featured on the front page of the BBC News website for 2 days. That had a global reach. That meant that companies from countries around the world were contacting our award holders, interested in partnering with them, interested in buying their products, interested in investing in them. So really, we've had a huge amount of interest in the work so far. Really pleased about that. So the positive action, so as I said, we've had our awards in 2016. We also ran a mission to Boston, which I can tell you about in a later slide. I thought you might be interested to see the response to the awards back in 2016. We had a massive response. We were completely overwhelmed. It was incredible. Over 1,700 women innovators expressed an interest in the awards, and we ended up with 442 applications, and they were very high quality applications. If you look at the breakdown of the applications by the 4 broad sector areas that we structured the awards around, you can see that around half of the applications were in emerging and enabling technologies, around a quarter in health and life sciences. The next area was materials and manufacturing, and then we had quite a small number in infrastructure systems. Last time we invited applications from women working in businesses of any size. So you can see the breakdown here of the size of company that the women who applied were working in. And you'll see that we had a majority of applications in the small or very small company size. We ended up supporting 31 award holders in 2016. The 31 award holders were all matched up with a senior business mentor, with an innovation advisor from the Enterprise Europe Network, and we ran a 2-day event just after the awards were announced, and we ran some bespoke workshops and expert advice sessions as well, tailored around the needs of that group of award holders. And then 15 of those 31 award holders also received a £50,000 grant. So it's slightly different to the structure and the way we're running it this time round. We had monthly reports from the innovation advisors working with our award holders, and we gathered feedback on the mentoring. And obviously we've been tracking the progress, and we're still in touch with the award holders, and we will continue to work with them going forward. Boston mission, I mentioned, we took 7 companies, the 7 companies are shown here, over to Boston. These companies were working in human-machine interaction. That was an area where there was sort of a synergy between what's happening in the UK and in Boston. It was all about introducing those companies to the innovation ecosystem in Boston. It was about helping them understand what it's like to do business in America and how you go about doing business in America. It was a very intensive program over 5 days, meeting investors, meeting corporate partners, meeting other SMEs that had set up in Boston, meeting academics, and attending conferences and events, and understanding what the government support landscape is out there is like too. And then working in partnership. So this slide just shows you some of the organisations that we've been working together with over the past couple of years, and we'll be looking to grow the number of organisations we work with going forward, and we're sort of reviewing that at the moment. In terms of demonstrating impact, we are very pleased in the difference that we've made in terms of the number of women who are engaging with Innovate UK. So before we went live with our awards in 2016, we did a bit of an exercise to analyse applications that we'd received to Innovate UK since we existed as an organisation, and we found that only 1 in 7 applications we had received had a woman as a lead applicant over that period of time. We went back and reviewed the status in March this year, and we're really pleased that now 24% of people who are registering on our online system as lead applicants are now women. Just want to talk through some specific examples of impact on some of the women that we have supported. And after this, actually, I'm going to be doing an interview with Boyle, one of our award holders. But here are some examples of some of the other award holders. So on the left, on this slide, you've got Kim Jarvis. Kim Jarvis is from Viridian, and her company has developed a laser cutting tool called Viridiscope, and that is used in the nuclear decommissioning environment. And over the last year, she has managed to get that tool piloted in 9 nuclear decommissioning sites across the UK. And she's just signed a deal with EDF to use that tool on Hinkley Point B. So she's growing in strength, it's getting stronger and stronger. She's received lots more investment also as a result of the award and the support that she's received. She originally wanted to be a PE teacher, so things have changed quite significantly over the years for for Kim. The next person on the slide to the right is Fancy Down. Fancy Down is from DPS Designs. So the company she works for, they do tooling for the aerospace industry, but they also do designs for chocolate and then produce the models that are used to produce those chocolate designs. So really beautiful, very sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Unique chocolate designs. So she does the design and then she produces the chocolate molds. Since getting the award, they have employed 11 new people into the company from 28 that they started out with, so that is a significant increase in size, and they've grown the confectionery arm of the business by 40%. Her ambition was for the company to be a European leader in chocolate design and manufacture, and she's definitely getting towards that point. Next, we've got Elena Diekman here, who is from Aero Powder. Now, Aero Powder is a company that uses the waste from the poultry industry, so the thousands of tons of feathers that are just burnt or go into landfill. They use those feathers to make sustainable materials. When she made her application to Innovate UK for her Women in Innovation Award, she was looking to make sustainable materials that would be used in insulating buildings. Then the Grenfell Tower disaster happened and the regulations around materials that are used for building insulation changed. She had to pivot her business model pretty much overnight, and now she's just launched onto the market a new product called Plumo, which is a thermal packaging for food and pharmaceuticals. So the support with the award and the advice helped her successfully pivot that business model. And then on the far right here, we have Shakar Jafari. She is the founder of True In Vivo. And True In Vivo is a business that has developed a silica bead array that is used in radiation therapy. So it helps in that when you're having radiation therapy, it helps to ensure that the radiation is going to the point it needs to go to and in the right amounts. She was the first woman from Afghanistan to be awarded a science PhD. And a slightly different sort of form of impact, I guess, from the award and all the sort of interest she's had around her and her story. She's been talking to a film director about turning her story into a new film. So that's just a very different way of showing, the impact that the awards have had. I just want to show you this slide, which is another example of a program that we've done under the Diversity and Inclusion banner, which is a program for young innovators working with the Prince's Trust. So we've been supporting 18 to 30-year-olds who are not currently in full-time education and employment, who've got great ideas for business, but don't really know where to go to get support. We've linked up with the Prince's Trust and we're supporting those young people together to turn those ideas into really successful businesses. Okay, that was sort of a quick journey, trot through what we've achieved so far. So now on to what I guess you'll be most interested in hearing about, the awards for 2018. So overall, we're planning to offer 8 awards, 2 in each of the 4 industrial strategy grand challenge areas. More on that to come. All the winners will receive a £50,000 grant. But it really is not just about the money, and we really did find that was true with our award holders last time. We are also offering a tailor-made package of mentoring, coaching and business support, and that can be just, if not more valuable than the money. And having that alongside the money is where you really, really get that value. So in terms of the tailor-made package of support, this is what is on offer to our award holders. Expert advice around funding and finance options for your business, public and private. That can include introductions to investors when you're ready and training on pitching to investors. Help with media and communications work, such as branding. For our award holders last time, we had a session with Angela Ferrugia, who is a group director from the world-leading brand agency, the licensing company. We can offer tailored advice on intellectual property. We've got good links to the Intellectual Property Office. help you with developing new business models. Like I said with Elena, she had to completely pivot her business model. Help you to evaluate market opportunities, so the ones that you're thinking about now, but actually for the future, new market opportunities. Help you to find new partners, whether that's other businesses that you can collaborate with, whether that's academics, whether that's UK international partners. Help you thinking about how you can grow and scale your company and what you need in order to do that. Help you to work internationally and access global markets, and help you with your business planning strategy. And then on top of that, and we're putting more emphasis on this than we did with the awards last time, we want to help you access world-leading facilities and equipment where that's appropriate for your business, because we have a network of catapult centres operating across the UK that we are supporting and working with in our family. They're much more closely involved with this awards programme this time round. So if we can help you to make useful links with them, they are here ready to support you as well. So in terms of delivering all of that, we'll be working with our Enterprise Europe network partners, we'll be working with the KTN, the Catapult family I've just said, and we will again have senior business mentors that we will be recruiting in each of the 4 industrial strategy grand challenge areas. So who should apply for the awards? So we want applications from female founders, co-founders, or senior decision makers within UK-based businesses. We need the businesses to have been operating for at least 1 year at the point when the application is made. We want to encourage applications that align with one of the 4 industrial strategy grand challenge areas. So that's artificial intelligence and data, ageing society, clean growth, or the future of mobility. We want to support companies who are intending to exploit the results of what they do using the support from the award in or from the UK. So we want that sort of wealth creation coming back to the UK. Companies need to be able to receive funding under de minimis state aid regulations, and Emma or Helen, I'm not sure, will explain a bit more about that in a moment. We're going to be having interviews in the second phase of the application process, or assessment process, and those will be running on the 11th and 12th of December. So you need to be available on those 2 dates. We won't be able to offer awards to people who can't physically attend those interviews, and we'll let you know nearer the time which of the 2 days and what time your interview will be. And we want award holders to work with us as role models, as we worked with our award holders last time, and we're saying that's going to involve around 5 days of award holders' time. So you need to be prepared to put that time in and do that. In terms of what we're looking for, this is all about potential. So this isn't really for women who've already been there, done it, and achieved everything. This is for women who are on a journey towards being really, really successful, that we think with an injection of support, we can help you and strengthen your opportunity to get to that point. So we're looking for women who've got capability, relevant experience, and who we think would be an inspirational role model for others. We want ambitious visions for the businesses that you're applying from, and again, that this is a really timely point for you to receive the support for the award. We're obviously looking for exciting ideas or business opportunities that can be developed, and we want to see those having a significant impact related to the Industrial Strategy Grand Challenge areas. Really importantly, we want to see that you've got a clear plan for how you would use the support that the award can provide you with. And it's not just about the money, so we want you to talk about those non-financial modes of support as well, and how you would benefit from those. And we want you to understand what you're hoping to achieve as a result of getting the award, what success looks like, and how are you going to measure that at the end of the day to demonstrate that you've achieved it. So, as I said, we're going to expect our award holders to engage in at least 5 days of activities that involve them being a role model. So, for example, we will ask award holders to provide us with material that will go into case studies. We'll invite award holders to speak at events across the UK, and very much will encourage activity on social media. So just to give you some examples of the sorts of events, speaking opportunities that our award holders had for 2016, you've got Pi from Getrick speaking to Sir Mark Walport, he's the new Chief Executive of UK Research and Innovation, and our former Chief Executive, Dr. Ruth McKernan, at Innovate 2017. You've got Christine Boyle talking about her business to MPs at the House of Commons event that I told you about. You've got Pauline Dawes with her trailer, huge trailer, in prime position at the exhibition space at Innovate 2017. We had a panel at the event that we organised on the 7th of March to coincide with International Women's Day. That was in partnership with the BBC, so we've got a panel of our award holders there. And this is an ongoing relationship we've got with the award holders. So there's an event in September, which is a very prestigious Financial Times Women at the Top event. It's invitation only, and we're able to extend invitations to our award holders to that event as well. So now I just want to talk very briefly through the 4 industrial strategy grand challenge areas. And we're not adding anything new here. This is the publicly available information. These are the descriptions that are out there on the web pages about these industrial strategy grand challenge areas. So for artificial intelligence and data, overall this is about putting the UK at the forefront of the artificial intelligence and data revolution. And this can be seen as new industries in their own right, but they're also transforming business models across many sectors as they deploy vast data sets to identify better ways of doing complex tasks. Embedding artificial intelligence across the UK will create thousands of good quality jobs and drive economic growth. For ageing society, overall, this is about harnessing the power of innovation to help meet the needs of an ageing society. Ageing populations will create new demands for technologies, products and services, including new care technologies, new housing models, and innovative saving products for retirement. If we succeed, we will create an economy which works for everyone, regardless of age. Clean growth. So we will maximise the advantages for UK industry from the global shift to clean growth. We want to lead the world in development, manufacture and use of low-carbon technologies, systems and services that cost less than high-carbon alternatives. Whole new industries will be created and existing industries transformed as we move towards a low-carbon, more resource-efficient economy. Future of mobility. To become a world leader in shaping the future of mobility. This is driven by extraordinary innovation in engineering, technology and business models. Our road and rail network in the UK could dramatically reduce carbon emissions and other pollutants. Congestion could be reduced through higher density use of road space enabled by automated vehicles, and mobility could be available when we want it, where we want it, and how we want it. So, I'm not saying I'm specifically reading exactly what it says, because we don't want to introduce anything new into those areas. We are sticking within the remit for this of the industrial strategy and those grand challenge areas. So now what I want to do is really talk through the questions on the application form for the awards. There are 6 questions. They're all scored out of 10, so they all have equal weighting. And I'm just going to talk through each of the questions in turn, and then also show you, in terms of the guidance that we're providing for assessors who are going to be scoring the applications, what they'll be looking for in order to give the highest scores possible. So, question 1 is about your potential to be a leader in business innovation. So, do you have evidence that you have capabilities and potential to be a leader in the area of business innovation that you plan to focus on, and a role model for others? So, this is about telling us why you've chosen to innovate in the area of business that you're working on, why you think you've got this potential to be a leader in the future in your field, what relevant experience, capabilities you have that you can bring to play, Your understanding of how to make innovation happen and any experience you've had in making innovation happen previously. So think about things like accessing funding, how have you gone about doing that, protecting IP, and your understanding of the markets that you're operating with. Really importantly here is how you feel about being a role model and why that's important to you, and the difference that this award is going to make to you personally. And there's a one-page annex which will allow you to provide additional information on this question. So in order to score the highest you can in your answer to this question, the guidance we're giving to assessors is that the applicant has demonstrated that they fully understand the capabilities required to be a leader in business innovation and shown how they are on a path towards this. They have all the necessary attributes and relevant experience. They have explained how they would be an inspirational role model and their motivation for this. What we'll also do is share with you the full kind of assessor guidance and criteria matrix so that you can see how the scoring and the advice differs lower down. But I really just wanted to show you, to get full percent, 100%, this is what is being looked for. So question 2, your vision for your business and timeliness of the award. So what's the vision for your business? Why is this the right time for you and your business to benefit from the award? Where do you see your business in the future and why is that ambitious? What's the current position with your business? What support have you already received? What will you be building on? Added value to the business right now from the injection of support that the award can offer. What you expect for the future and the market that you're operating in and the dynamics of that market. So in order to score the highest you can in this question, the applicant has set out a clear vision for the future of their business. The vision is boldly ambitious, achievable and based on an in-depth understanding of their company's potential and target market. The case made for why this is the right time for the award is highly convincing. Okay, question 3, your idea or business opportunity. So what new idea or business opportunity would you like to develop with the award? Why is this a critical next step for your business? So explain the idea or business opportunity that you are looking to develop. Link this to whether it's about a technological challenge, whether it's a need for your business, or whether it's a market opportunity that you're pursuing. Say why it's relevant to the vision that you outlined in question 2. And describe previous work that this will build on. So in order to score as high as you can on this question, the applicant has clearly outlined why the idea or opportunity to develop is innovative and game-changing. They have provided the evidence to show that this is not only necessary, but a critical next step to achieving the vision set out above. Question 4. So this is the one that's all about significance to the industrial strategy grand challenges. So this is scored. So it's for you to really demonstrate how what you're working on, your business, the business opportunity that you're working towards relates to one of the industrial strategy grand challenge areas. So how does your vision relate to a grand challenge area and what's the potential for impact in the UK? Which challenge specifically do you think is most relevant to your business, and how will you help to address a specific element within that challenge? Impact expected towards the overall mission for that grand challenge, and then what are the wider economic, societal, regional benefits that you're expecting from the work? So in order to score as high as you can on that question, the applicant has explained how the vision articulated is a strong fit to one or more key elements within the grand challenge and how this will clearly make a big impact towards the overall mission. Question 5 is all about how you're going to use the award. And again, to stress, it's really important not just to focus on the financial side of this. So this will look at how are you going to spend the money, but it will also look at how are you going to use the non-financial package of support available. So that list of the expert advice available, and the point about, we can help you access these world-leading facilities and equipment. We're asking you to very clearly identify from that list what looks of most interest to you, where you think you'll gain most benefit, and if you're interested in accessing the equipment and facilities, give us some indication about what you're looking for there as well. So in terms of getting the highest score you can for this, the applicant has demonstrated they fully understand the package of support on offer, and they have clearly described how they will utilise this to gain maximum benefit. And the evidence we're looking for is project and activities plan should achieve significant progress towards developing the idea business opportunity set out. The costs are appropriate. The applicant has a clear plan for obtaining resources, equipment and facilities they need. There's a strong management plan. There's been consideration of the key risks and uncertainties and how to mitigate against these. And the additionality arguments are compelling. So this work wouldn't go ahead without the injection of public support and funding, or it would go ahead much more slowly. Question 6, what does success look like? What are the expected outputs of the award and how will these be measured? So we'll be looking for you to set out outputs for each of the activities you've said you're going to be undertaking, what success looks like for each of these and how you're going to measure it, nature of those outputs you're expecting, and what are the next steps. And if there are any sort of regulatory requirements, certification required, ethical issues to consider, then we'd like to see some evidence of understanding of that and how you would go about dealing with that. And to score as high as you can in this question, the applicant is clear about what they want the award to deliver, and this is entirely realistic. They have fully described the expected outputs of the award and how they will measure successful delivery towards these. They have set out a solid plan for the expected next steps following a successful outcome of the award. So those are the 6 questions. I hope that hasn't sort of put you off by saying, this is what 100% in terms of the scoring looks like. We want to be entirely transparent with you so that you understand how your applications are going to be assessed. And that's the purpose for sort of sharing this with you. And then I just really want to run briefly through some additional unmarked questions that we're asking you to respond on the application form. So up front, we'll just be asking you to indicate the industrial strategy grand challenge area that most closely fits with your business and the idea that you're wanting to develop. And then also indicate if your application aligns with another grand challenge area. The reason we're asking that is so that we can easily identify and put you into batches to work out what assessors we send your applications to. Otherwise, it's a big exercise for us to manually go through and sort that out. So that's very important. It's not scored. Previous applications, have you applied for funding from us before? Please state yes or no. That's really important, particularly for me. I want to understand how many of the applications we receive are from women who haven't worked with us before. One of the points I said that's really important to us is this outreach thing. So we want to find new audiences, reach new individuals who can benefit from our support. So we want to know how well we're doing towards that. But again, it's not marked. It won't have any bearing on whether or not you're successful. We'd like to understand how you heard about the awards. So I mentioned we're putting a huge emphasis on the campaign and communications around this. We're trialling different forms of communication. We'd like to see how well that's working. So again, feedback on where you heard about this. And really importantly, additional support. There's a question on the form that asks you to say whether you'd be happy for us to share your information with the partners that we are working with. We've got a limited number of awards to give out. That's clear. There are quite a lot of you in the room today. There are more people who are joining this session online. But the awards aren't everything, and the partners that we are working together with want to work with you and support you in any way they can. And in order for us to help make that easy, if you say yes, you'd be willing for us to share your details with our other partners, then we can follow up with you directly after the whole awards process is over. So then, just to recap, we want to support women at a critical stage for themselves and for their business, where this injection of support is going to really add a huge value. We're looking for women with potential to be leaders in business innovation, who want to be a role model for others, who have a clear vision for their business, which is ambitious, are looking to develop a game-changing novel idea of business innovation that is likely to have significant impact towards the industrial strategy grand challenge areas, and that are clear about what they want to achieve with the award, what it's going to do for them personally and for their business. And as I said before, these awards are for women who are on a path towards being really successful, for us to help you get there, not really for women who are already a huge success, because we feel that if you're already a huge success, then the added value of this support is not going to be as high as it would be for women who are on that journey towards being that success. Okay, so that was all I was going to say. There's a Q&A session now. Emma's going to be talking afterwards more about kind of like the application process. So there will be another Q&A session after that. But I'd like to sort of throw it out there now to hear if you've got any questions for me based on what you've heard. And I will just say, any questions that are specifically about, does my area, the business I'm working with, fit within one of the 4 industrial strategy grand challenge areas? Over networking, there are 4 tables in the room, the networking room, 1 for each of the industrial strategy grand challenge areas. Please go in the networking area to speak to the innovation leads I introduced you to earlier and talk about whether or not your business area fits within the industrial strategy grand challenge areas. I don't think we can take questions on that now because there will just be so many. So that in mind, I'll throw it open to questions. Okay, we've got one.
Hello, my name's Sandra Murphy from Equidite UK Limited. I've looked at what you've said, and it's been fantastic what you've said. And obviously, you've said about the 4 areas.
Yes.
Now, if we don't fit into one of those 4 areas, do you still offer that sort of, connections and help and with companies that don't fit into those areas?
So we very much, we've connected with you, you've engaged with us, you're in the room. We would love to support you in any way that we can. So the awards is one way of supporting you. We are also, Emma mentioned the Building Success events that we're going to be running across the UK. I think we're going to be launching information on those at the end of this week. Those events will help to highlight other opportunities and help you make connections that you need. Also, we've got your details. You know who we are. Talk to us. We want to support you in any way that we can.
Is that something we can actually do today? Because we've come a long way today.
Yes.
We can actually get some information, some contacts, and that today.
Yes,
fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Please do. Okay, the lady over here. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tina D'Souza. So I don't know if you'll cover this later, but can you apply for this in conjunction with another Innovate UK call or grant application?
Yes, you can. You won't. If you're applying for exactly the same thing, then you won't get funded twice to do the same thing. But there's no reason why you can't put in sort of parallel applications.
Yeah, because obviously the amount is a set amount and the value is with the mentoring and the coaching.
Yes.
But if you sort of then complemented it with another grant for maybe more of the tech work, then that's how they could work.
One of our award holders last time applied for two competitions at the same time and was successful in both. So what happened was we didn't give her the money for the grant, but we actually gave her the wider support, and she used the financial support from the other competition. So yeah, we won't fund you twice for the same thing. That's clear.
Hi, Shiraz Nasser, CEO at Corrosion Radar. I've got 2 questions, but I will start with a general observation. You showed the amazing impact that this award gave to many women in innovation, and you showed really nice stories. I don't understand why the number of awards went down instead of going up. So, I mean, that's my observation.
Okay,
I've got a question about the award. You are mentioning 50 award falls under the 30, 70%?
No. So the 50,000 is 100% funded. It's de minimis aid. Emma will say a bit more about that later. But yes, it's 100% funded. You don't need to find any matched funding to.
My last question, I promise. There's a lot about impact. I mean, we know 50K is not a big money in, a business that is based on innovation. So I don't know what measure of impact you are expecting from 50K, or it is, any information about impact from a 50K or impact from a business in general growing in the next couple of years?
So there are a variety of different ways that we've seen impact with our award. So I talked about sort of employing more people, growing the business, introducing new products onto the market, finding new customers. We have seen our award holders use the award to lever additional support, so huge amounts more investment, whether that's grant funding or from private sources. So they've used the awards really to pull in that additional support. So those are the sorts of impacts that we're expecting to see this time around as well. So the award is, the 50K is 50K, and really use that award to leverage other investment, and with the connections we can help you to make, and the advice we can provide you with, as well as the financial support to maybe, test things out that you need to then put you in a stronger position for making some larger proposals and applications. That's the way that you can use this support, and it's been used very successfully in the previous round to do that.
Why did the number go down?
Okay, so I started off by saying I was so delighted to be here, because when we started this, it was a one-off. There was never any ongoing commitment, and so it's been a bit of a mission for me to make sure that we do continue supporting women in innovation. So this is one. We've got these awards, we've got the Building Success events, we're going to be building another, we've got plans for other programmes coming along the line. I'm delighted that we're managing to do the awards again. I know maybe you're saying that it looks like it's gone down, but for me, I think it's a positive, very positive thing that we're able to do it again, because I think it's very unusual for our organisation to be doing this sort of thing. So we've demonstrated that we've made a really positive difference. It's worked really well. We've now got to kind of build on that. And I think what we don't want to do is keep on doing the same thing over and over again as well. We need to learn from what we've done before and develop new things. So we're doing these awards. We've got the Building Success events, and then watch out, there will be other programmes coming up. Okay.
Hi. I have a couple of questions, and they're really about trying to get a clearer definition of some of the terms that you've used. Right. So I wondered if you could define really what you mean by huge success. What does that mean? And what does, you talked about co-founder can apply, and also a senior decision maker in business. Yes. What does that mean? Yes. Can you define it in terms of how many years, the turnover of the company? I kind of not really clear about that. And my final question is, what was the average score of the award winners, the 15 award winners?
Oh, right, okay. So huge success. I don't know when I said that, but that's for you to tell us what your ambitions are for the business, and we'll be judging you against others. So it depends. You've got to show that you think this award is going to help take you from here to here, and therefore it's significant.
I mean, you said that the person applying shouldn't already have.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, and I appreciate that's sort of a slightly difficult. So it's about, I would say, if you're already a hugely successful businesswoman, probably a 50K grant and the advice that we can offer you it's almost it's a bit late in the day, and you probably feel you've got all the connections that you need, and 50K grant isn't going to being, you know, you're not looking for that at this point in time, and it'll be very difficult for you in your application to demonstrate that 50k and the advice and connections we can help you to make are going to add value over and above what you've got already. So I think it's more about thinking about if you feel you're going to find it difficult to show the added value, and it probably is more just that actually you want the money, but actually the rest of it isn't going to deliver that much value, then that's what we're trying to say. So it's not a black and white answer, but and also if you're in one of these industrial strategy grand challenge areas, if you're already the person that's the go-to person in that area, you've built a multi-million business around that area, then again, this probably isn't for you.
We've had a few questions come in from online, so if anyone else in the room does have any additional questions, then do come up and speak to us during the lunch break. But if we could take a few questions from the online delegates.
Yeah. Can I just because you had there was another, what was the second question? Senior, I think that's important to just address that fact, which again is not a clear-cut black and white thing. The reason we put that in, so last time we had a number of award holders who were working within companies and they weren't what we would call the senior decision makers. So they had to ask for permission to be able to apply. They had to be able to ask for permission once the funding for the award was delivered to them, because it wasn't an award to the business, it was to that person, that they would be able to release them for the time to carry out activities on the award. And that wasn't a particularly easy process. So you need to be the person that can say, yes, I can make the decision that I can apply for this, and I can make the decision that when the award is offered to me, it's up to me to free up my time to work on the award. I don't need to ask permission from anybody else to do that. So that is what that senior decision maker means.
So in that scenario, the company could be a multi-million-pound business?
The company could be, yes. But you wouldn't be the founder or co-founder of the, yeah.
Okay, so we have a question online from Janet who says, I'm a senior university professor and set up a small spin-out. Whilst I'm a successful academic, our company is still growing. Am I still eligible, having been successful in another sphere of work?
Sorry, say that again.
So I'm a senior university professor and set up a small spin-out.
Right.
Whilst I'm a successful academic, our company is still growing. Am I still eligible, having been successful in another sphere of work?
Yes, provided the spin-out company has been operating for at least a year when the application is put in on that one. So, yes.
Great.
Because it's a different sphere. The success has not been in the spin-out company. The success has been in an academic career, which is completely different to what we're looking for here.
Great. We have another question from SEAB Power and SEAB Energy. If we've acquired a business, does the 1 year apply to both businesses?
Well, which business were you from when are you the one that's been acquired, or the business that acquired the business that's been acquired, I guess? So I'm not sure.
Not quite sure from the question that's come in.
I think it's difficult without knowing the specifics on that. I would have thought if you've been acquired by a business that's been operating for longer than a year, then it's not an issue.
Okay, great. And we can follow up with some more information on that question. We also have a question from Aurelie who says, the Future of Mobility Challenge makes reference to road and rail. Will applications focused on maritime transport be eligible and given equal weighting during the evaluation process?
That is a question that I think we should pick up over networking, unless Gabrielle is.
I'm happy to get back to them.
I think we'll get back, with specifics on that one. Yeah.
Okay, Aurelie, we'll get back to you on that one. And then there's another question from Debbie saying, will we be disadvantaged if we have already received Innovate UK funding?
No.
Great. And that's all of our questions from online.
Any more questions in the room? Okay, yes, we do have a few more questions. How are we doing for time? Okay, yeah, let's take a few more questions then. And then, I'm around we can take more questions later as
Hi,
well.
this is Selina
Hi.
Worrell, co-founder of Zonafied. I wanted to ask, do you have examples of previous applications that we could look at as a template to help us see what a successful application looks like?
We don't share previous applications, but the KTN is available to provide advice on applications submitted. Emma B is not Emma Bortnick. Oh, you're that. Yeah. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, for any sort of final draft applications, the Knowledge Transfer Network can review those and provide any advice for certain areas of that. So yeah, please do get in touch with us.
As you're applying, you can actually submit an application and you can give some feedback on it, so to improve or not improve. Okay, that's great.
Emma, do you want to say a bit more about that? Yeah, so the colleagues in the KTN do provide that service for people applying to Innovate UK. I guess all I would say is if you're interested in that, get in early, don't leave it till the day before the deadline. Start having a conversation early around that.
Hi. I already got the mic, sorry.
Where are we? Oh, here. Okay, so hi.
I'm Kartika Bojan, founder of Cerebral Matter. My question is on collaboration. Like, I saw the application as collaborators as well. Is it possible to add your co-founders or your board members who are women as well? Will that provide any strength to the application?
Okay, so this is for, if it's you making the application, the award is for you. Okay. So you should centre the application around you, not around others within your
So the collaborators
company.
are not really like, you know what I mean? You don't have to add anybody in.
You don't have to. You can talk about who you're going to work in collaboration with, and when you talk about how you're going to plan to use for example, the financial support, if you're going to be working with others on that, then by all means talk about that. But as I said, you know, this is you. You need to demonstrate that the ideas, the business opportunity is coming from you.
Okay. And one last question. Let's say, like, if we have already secured some Innovate UK funding, and is it possible to get the 50 grand again?
Not for the same work, no.
No. Let's say we got a secured funding for the product development of the business, and this 50 grand, let's say we are doing it on market research, will we be able to get it? Get the money?
You can use, the 50k can be used very flexibly, but it can't be used to reproduce
the same
goal as something that's been previously
or is it
funded.
still possible to apply for the application saying we are not looking for the money, but we just need the award for so and so impact we can make?
So make the application saying that you don't want the money, but you want the wider package of support. I would say don't make the application, but come and talk to us about how we can work with you in other ways.
Okay, yeah.
In that case. Are we okay to take one more question? Okay.
Hello, Christina Sargent from Maxim Associates. The winners, to me, seem that they are people who already have an established business and then they developed a tangible product, a laser cutter, a radiation calibration device. Statistically speaking, to me, it looks a little bit like it is in favor of somebody who has a device. And if I have a service, an innovative service, for example, I'm thinking Uber, for example, that is a service. I'm a mathematician. I was wondering whether I am at a disadvantage.
No. It's not all about products and gizmos and widgets. It's definitely about processes and services as well. We're looking at innovation in the broadest sense.
Okay.
Apologies if the examples I provided made it look like
Thank you.
That wasn't the case. Okay. I think we should move on now. So as I said, I'm around all day. Colleagues are around, not all day, all for this event. So any questions, come and speak to us over networking later, and there's another Q&A session later on. But now I would love to welcome up onto the stage with me Christine Boyle from Senergy, who is one of our award holders from 2016. Hello. So we're going to sit up here. Hello, how are you?
I'm great, delighted. Thank you very much for the invite.
Oh,
Delighted.
Thank you for being here. So first of all, we asked Christine if she'd come and give a bit of a presentation, and then we thought, well, maybe that's not the best way to do this. So what we've decided is to do more of a sort of informal interview. So I'm just going to ask Christine a couple of questions, and then maybe if we've got some time, we'll allow you guys to ask some additional questions to Christine. So I guess first of all, do you just want to introduce yourself and your business and your innovation?
Yeah, so I'm Christine Boyle. I'm a startup from Belfast. My background was commercial roofing, and my innovation was I saw that there were things happening around in other areas of business that could really dramatically change the business that I was in. So there was additive manufacturing, advanced materials and digitalization, and all of this innovation was going on around. And I kind of thought, could I grasp that and bring it in and develop a product that would really change my industry? And I developed a solar thermal panel. So unlike current thermal panels that are made of glass, copper and aluminium, Senergy panels are 100% polymer plastic, but they have nano-composite materials in there that make them stronger and more thermally conductive. And that was my idea, and that's when I arrived at the awards to apply in the first place.
And how did you hear about the awards, and what made you go for it, I guess?
It was the opportunity. It was an opportunity to get from where I was to the next proof point. So I had proof concept at that stage. I had a big idea that I was, really going to take this global and do wild and wonderful things, but I had to get to the next proof point, and that's probably what I did over the year.
Fantastic. So, how did you use the support? And I think it'd be really helpful if you could talk about the financial support and then also the kind of wider non-financial support.
Specifically, what I wanted to do was build my team out, to move the product from prototype to pre-commercial manufacture. I knew I couldn't go the whole way with £50,000, but it was going to get me a little bit further down to then prove the product for future investment. So it was the team, the product development, the market development. So it was about going out to people in the construction sector and saying, I have this product, what do you think of it? Would you use it? How much would you use it? And getting all of that information. And then the network, building the network and the connections are the be all and end all. I mean, that's the biggest thing that made a difference. Yeah.
And you have done lots internationally, haven't you, since getting the award? So you went on the Clean and Cool mission. Christine also went on the Boston mission that I told you about, and you've been on lots of other trips, haven't you? So can you tell us a bit about those?
I've been on 5 trade missions this year. Went to San Francisco on the Clean and Cool mission and did 2 follow-up missions after that. Went to Boston on the Emerge and again did the follow-up after that, back out to another trade mission. And yet the introductory ones are fantastic. It kind of really opens your mindset to what is possible. And then the other ones are going back and keeping those communication and that door open and the connection open, both in terms of investment then and customers and business development. So yeah, they were very, very key.
I spoke to Christine, was it a week after you got back from Clean and Cool, I think?
Yeah.
Because I was planning the Boston mission and I wanted to hear how it had gone with Clean and Cool. And I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was you were buzzing, and it was something along the lines of, it's totally transformed the way I look at things. It was life-changing. Yeah. as an experience. So that was just really super. What about your senior business mentor, John Higgins?
Yeah.
How did you get on with him? What did you work on with him?
John was very much an ear, but also a challenging. You know, is your ambition big enough? And then in terms of the connections, and he played a big part in the digitalisation element of, you know, where the digital world was and how we would implement a platform into the product, and how we would make it then the end user benefit from that. Again, his connections, and certainly in terms of future boards, although he did say don't bring on board members too early because they're like onion skins because you cry getting rid of them. But yeah, so very much independent mentorship. So there was no, sometimes people can get involved as a mentor because they're kind of looking to get close and see is it something, but this was very, very much independent, and it was very focused around you and the business and that protection that you needed, yeah.
And any words of advice for future award holders?
Every single opportunity, just put your hand up. And it kind of, it started off with the residential. We came here to London for the awards ceremony, and we went to the London Business Awards, and it was fantastic to meet the other winners. That in itself is really beneficial. We're all still in contact. And I know
I didn't say enough about that, actually. The group
really
has
valuable.
really gelled and supported each other.
Yeah.
And what we're hoping actually is that you guys will go on to support and work with the future award holders as well. So I think that'll be really valuable.
What goes round comes round. So initially the group was fantastic. Then we went on the residential, and you got to meet the group more. But that opened all of the opportunities of pots of advice in terms of IP, legals, product development, leadership skills, absolutely everything that an entrepreneur would need. And so you were able to see where you kind of were okay and didn't need much help, but where the gaps were. And then you were able to plug those gaps and seek further advice. So you kind of got the whole platform of these are the skills you're going to need if you're really going to build this business. And you could then focus on the skills that you identified that was your goal as, right, this is what I'm really going to focus on and improve. Yeah.
And what's next for the business?
And
for you?
Yeah. The confidence within the year and a half has been amazing. Before it was like a dream, and I'm sure lots of you are sitting here going, I have this idea of this product, and I think it would really happen, and it's a dream. The reality of it is kind of a bit, whoa, this is good. So for me, we've got the product to pre-commercialisation. We're still making it ourselves. We secured a Nanoleap Horizon 2020 programme, and that allowed us to prove the manufacturing capability, and it opened up a supply chain, which was really valuable as well. So our next stage is we're getting into the factory, getting them made, and getting them out the door and starting to make money. So that's the next 12 to 18 months. But I could not have done that had I not have done the background work. And sometimes you kind of think you can, move faster. Innovation is it's a slow process, and sometimes you just have to let it take its course. Yeah.
And anything you would have done differently, I guess? If you could start the year's support with the award again, or
I enjoyed the journey. I enjoyed the learning. I think I enjoyed that it wasn't all full on. At the very beginning, that might have been a bit scary. So it kind of just evolved really naturally. So just in case you kind of think next time round, just throw them in at the deep end. We know what we're doing. It was nice that it evolved, and you were able to take each stage as it came. Yeah, I would say if you've got that idea and you know your industry, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much
You're
for
very
that.
welcome.
Let's see if we've got any questions from people in the room. Okay, should we? There's a question down here.
Thank you very much for sharing the information. And just want to ask, as a successful businesswoman, how you balance like family and life? Do you feel anything different from being a businesswoman compared to other people like being businessmen?
I try not to, because I don't think it should be different. I try not to do it. I don't mean even, I kind of don't really like splitting men and female into two different, because we're just, I think when you become a business person or an entrepreneur, it's in your DNA, no matter whether you're male or female. There's just sometimes I think the innovation and the idea takes over you, so you have no choice but to go with it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, in the home, females do. My husband's grey. And he said that's because he does all the work. That's not true. It's just about getting a balance, and I think if it's equal at home, then it's, you know. So if you're both out working, then you both have to share at home. I don't think my children ever they do. I'm Northern Irish, and we have a great sense of humour. So yeah, they do. I get grief, but they also see what I do. And they appreciate that, and yeah, I think that's a real learning for them as well, to see that you don't. It's not about having it all. It's just about everybody getting on and being happy doing what they're both doing.
One thing I didn't say earlier when I was talking through the examples of impact on some of our other award holders. So 2 of the award holders that I talked about, Elena and Fanza, both of them got pregnant whilst they were receiving the support from us for the awards, and they've recently had their second babies. Yes, it is, absolutely.
Don't want it.
But in terms of, you know, maybe that might be useful. They might be able to offer useful advice around, you know, juggling different things going on with lives and business.
Basically, as women, sometimes we are not very confident about our innovative ideas, if that is enough. Basically, for women, is from my experience and my observation is, for women, normally if you have 10, you will see you got 8 or 7. But for men, if they have 3, they maybe say I got 11. So that is a scenario I observed while I was working with several different inventors in my career path. So as a woman, how do you identify when you got an idea, you think it's a good idea, and have the guts to say, I can do this, because that's our nature. We doubt ourselves about our innovative ideas, and also the ability to achieve, you can achieve. And I think sometimes when I observe with several inventors, male inventors, I think they are crazy, basically. That's unachievable from my observation. After I worked with several of them, they both quite successful at the end. But as a woman, it's sometimes different from our mentality. And at the end of the day, we are women.
I think it comes for the fact that we don't step out of the box and do things. So you realise that you're good at something when you keep doing it. If you start riding a bike at the beginning, you're all wobbly, and then a couple of weeks later, you continue to ride the bike, and you're out on the roads, and I can do this. And that's what I learned from the InFocus Award. The more that I wouldn't say I was pushed, the more opportunities that I took, and I'm talking about speaking in front of people, doing conferences, pitch training, going and meeting people, getting on 2-3 flights on your own, all of those things, if you do them, then your confidence comes with that. And I think with females, it's just we don't get out of our comfort zone as much as men do. And then in terms of innovation, actually, in terms of the application, and I know KTN offered some support, and is the application still the same format?
It's slightly different because of the alignment to the industrial strategy grand challenge areas, but pretty much.
Yeah, the very first question was about yourself. And when I actually started to write down what I'd done, I was kind of going, gosh, like, oh, get that in and get that in. And, you know, and then it was a friend of mine who, she's kind of like a journalist writer, and she said, Christine, do you want me to have a look at that? And so she took it away and she brought it back, and then I'm reading it going, is this me? So, you know, I would advise, get someone to look at what you have and floor it up, because I think we're not boastful enough. You know, there's a lot of things we have done and have achieved, and then use the award to do and achieve even more.
So, Nicola Gammon, a question for both of you, sort of, relating to the non-financial support. So you talked about a package of different types of support. What if the entrepreneur says, well, you know, if you could help me secure a meeting with XYZ person, or I got support from this entity, is that open? Like, is that something that they will support you with? And then the second question relates to the application. Does that kind of creative thinking help with the scoring, or do you need to constrain yourself to the list of non-financial support you listed in your presentation?
Don't feel constrained by the list. If there's other stuff you think you need help with, then we can probably find somebody that can help you to do that. So that would be, yeah, so be as creative as you want to, but we wanted to set out ideas okay. And where we know firmly that we've got support that we can deliver in those areas.
And did you have?
And if you're maximising the opportunities, the network will open up.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't think there's anyone that I couldn't get a hold of if I wanted to now, which is really, really valuable.
I think that's all we've got time for questions in this session, but Christine, are you staying around for the lunch break?
I can't.
Okay, we have got another...
But I am at Senergy NI, if you want to follow me, and I'm happy for some questions. I'm here, and I'll do my best to get back. It'll not be big long spiels, but I'll do my best if you have a very quick short answer or anything you need. Yeah, happy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on now to the next part of the briefing, which is Emma Markham, talking about the application and assessment process.
Yeah, so you can either use that if you want. And it's just that like this. Good afternoon, everybody, and I'll be taking you through the actual application process and a little bit about how we're going to assess the competition. So I'll also be joined by Helen Feather for the finances section, so we'll be switching over halfway through. So just a quick little bit about the agenda of what I'll be covering. So I'll be covering the eligibility criteria and then focusing on the actual application process, what you need to complete. Then we'll move on to the application finances. This is covering project costs and things like that. Submitting your application, then how we'll do the setup, and then if you are successful, the project setup for successful applicants, and then moving into the Q&A.
Is there any way to lift the volume slightly? Down that end?
I can speak louder. Does that help?
You speak louder, yeah.
I'll just yell, that's fine. So the eligibility criteria. So this is something that's very important that you get right, because we will be going through all the applications, and if you don't meet the eligibility criteria, it won't even get to the assessors. So it's very important that you do meet the eligibility criteria for this competition. So you need to be a female founder, co-founder, or senior decision maker. Obviously, that's a little bit flexible, but you need to really justify it in your application. Really clearly show that you're a big decision maker in this company, or you're the founder or co-founder, or a similar type of role. We're also looking for, this has to be a UK-based business, and you need to be, the business needs to have existed for over a year, so you need to, obviously, there's different definitions of that, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail, but essentially we need to see that you've been operational for a year, so you don't necessarily have to have necessarily registered with Company House or something, but you need to show financial records that you've existed for a year or greater, so that we can see that, and that's sort of what will be involved in the financial checks if you are successful. So you also need to show that you're aligning with one of the 4 industrial strategy grand challenge areas, as Emily mentioned earlier. So clearly state how you meet and fit within the scope of that grand challenge area. That's really important, because if you're outside one of those areas, you're not going to be eligible for this competition. You need to make sure you're eligible to receive de minimis state aid funding. We're going to go into a little bit more detail in a few slides about that. But make sure that you're eligible to receive it, because if you are successful and then we do the financial checks and then find you're unsuccessful, that's a very difficult position. So make sure you're eligible up front before applying. And also another requirement of this competition is you need to be willing to work for at least 5 days as a role model. And so that's a really important thing that we want from our successful applicants. And what you'll be getting out of it is obviously £50,000, and that can be used over a project length of 12 months. So what's on everyone's lips? What is de minimis? So de minimis is a type of state aid, but it's slightly different. So it's 100% funding, and it can be used for a variety of different things that sometimes state aid, normal state aid can't be used for. But there's a requirement that you can only have received a total of €200,000 over a 3-year fiscal period of de minimis state aid sort of funding. So make sure that you're fulfilling this requirement, and do check with us. You can obviously contact us. At the end of my presentation, I'll add in the customer service email address and phone number, so you can contact us if you have any questions, and we can put you through to finances and we can sort of help you check that. But obviously you need to speak to your own company, and the accountant will obviously be able to help you determine this. So as I mentioned before, you can receive 100% funding, and we're allocating 8 awards, so that's 2 for each of the Grand Challenge areas. So the funding will be paid in 3 increments. So you'll get 20% upfront, and then 60% in the midpoint of your project, and then 20% at the end. So you need to sort of think about how you're going to balance that funding coming in and what you're going to use it and be able to achieve with it. And then obviously, Emily's already covered the information about the support package, so this is just reiterating that. So it's not limited to just these things, but obviously it can help you find more finance options, looking at branding, IP, and then evaluating market opportunities, and really accessing world-leading facilities. So we've got a variety of different help that we can help you with in that support package, and that can be delivered by we've got senior business mentors in each of the industrial strategy challenge areas, and then the KTN, EEN, and the catapults. So it's delivered by a variety of different partners to help you succeed. So these are some sort of technical details. So obviously, if you've applied for the round in 2016, you're very welcome to reapply. That's absolutely fine, but just make sure you're meeting the new criteria so it's slightly more niche that we're looking for this year. So make sure you fulfill all of that eligibility criteria. And also, one of the unmarked questions is we're asking if you've applied for any Innovate UK funding competition. So not just Women in Innovation, but if you've applied for any previous competitions, please do let us know, because then we can see if we're reaching new people that have never applied before. So this is an important point that we need to make. So if you've had other funding previously, you need to have finished the project, if the project has finished. Obviously, if it's still running, then this isn't important. But if you've finished the project, you need to make sure that that's all filed and there's been an independent accountant report. Because obviously, if you haven't completed that very last step at the end of your project, you wouldn't be eligible to receive more funding through Innovate UK. So it's very important that you complete that last step. But obviously, if you're successful, we will discuss this with you and help you. And obviously, if you've applied for previous competitions and you haven't made a substantial effort to exploit the award, then obviously we're not able to give you any future awards. So this is just making sure that you're utilising all the funding that we've given you in the past, and that we're able to keep funding you in the future. So the key dates of the competition's already open, so we're having the briefing date today. So the submission date is midday on the 3rd of October. Now this is a very hard deadline, so definitely apply in plenty of time. So we have a slide later on that shows that everybody applies 2 hours before the deadline. And as you can imagine, this causes a lot of problems because if you hit an error or if you have an issue, you know, it's very difficult to get that resolved and get it in. So our website will actually stop all submissions at 12 noon. So if you're trying to submit it 1 minute past 12, it's not going to happen, and we won't let you back in. So please apply in plenty of time, review everything, and then submit, and relax. So the interviews, as Emily mentioned, so they're on the 11th and 12th of December. Please do keep both days free until we give you your allocated time and day. We're obviously not able to accommodate, and if you can't make those interviews, then you won't be eligible for the award. So please do keep both days available, put them in your calendar, and then obviously we will inform all the applicants on the 14th of December and select who is successful. So you'll know just before Christmas, and then you can relax and celebrate. Okay, so this is just a little bit of details about applying through IFS. So this is our online platform for applying for funding for Innovate UK. So as you can see, there's sort of a map showing the different user service, and then so this is how you would search for the competition. I'm sure most of you have probably looked at our website before and looked at the different funding opportunities before, but you can search for different competitions, find our competition, and then start a new application. So if you're completely new to IFS, you will need to create an account. If you've done it before, you can just log in and reuse the account you already have. If you're new, you will need to add your organisation. So you can type the name in, and then you can search on Companies House for your relevant company. So answering questions. So as you can see, there's a variety of different things that will appear on your screen when you go into each question. And what's really key to point out is what should I include in this section? So the online guidance. So if you just click that, it'll open out with exactly what we're looking for in your answer. So please try and craft your answer around what we're looking for, and that will really help you maximise and make sure you get top marks. Obviously, format the content and make sure you're within the word count. Use a spell checker, things like that. And then once you've completed each section, it'll come up and marked as complete. So that's very helpful just so you can track your progress. Obviously, you can go back in and edit it and change it if you want to, up until the point you submit. What's very handy is you obviously see the application progress bar at the top, so you can see how much of the application you still need to complete. You also need to complete your project details, fill in all the application questions, and then the finances at the end. The finances do take quite a bit of time depending on how much detail and breakdown you want to give us, so allow yourselves plenty of time to fill in all the sections. So the actual application process, so we need your applicant's details, so we need your timescales, the innovation area, is this a resubmission, a summary of the project, and then a public description. So the public description is information that if you're successful, we will use to promote the project and promote you on our website. So please make sure in the public description you're not including anything that's sort of confidential or information that you don't want shared. But yes, this is the information we will use to promote you. So make the most of it. And this isn't scored, so these sections aren't scored or marked. So just give the best information you can, and it sort of gives the assessor sort of an overview of you and your project and your company. So the scope is really important. So making sure that you're aligning with the scope of the competition and making sure you fit. So put really good information in here to prove that you are in scope for this competition. That's always a really important part. So at this point, I'll hand over to Helen, who will cover the finances.
Hi everybody. I'd just like to echo what Emily said earlier about how exciting it is to be here. I worked with Emily on the first round of the Women in Innovation Awards in 2016, so it's really exciting that we're running another round. It's really nice to see all of you here today. I go to a lot of briefing events and I'm normally just faced with a sea of male faces with a few women dotted around the room, so it's just really nice to see that there's so many women out there doing really exciting things. So I'm going to go through the very exciting topic of your application finances and what you can include. So the first section of the application is those questions which Emma just went through. Then you'll also need to answer the application questions which Emily went through earlier. And then the third section is where we want to know about your finances. So this is where we need to know what you're going to be spending that £50,000 on. Most of the things that we fund are around R&D projects, so you'll see that the content in the system is sort of geared towards project terminology. With de minimis funding, you can use the funding for anything. It might be a project, it might be a part of a project, or it might not be a project, so that's fine. So don't be confused or put off by some of the wording that might suggest it has to be project related. So this is our sort of standard system that we use for everything, so that's why. But there is a lot of flexibility in what you can use that funding for. So there's 7 different categories that we ask you to complete. If any of these categories aren't relevant, you can just select no, I haven't got any costs in this area, and that's fine. There is some more guidance online about the kind of things we would expect to see in these different categories. If you're not sure about anything, again, because this competition is a bit different, obviously feel free to get in touch with us and we can clarify. But with de minimis, generally most things are eligible to be funded. So the first section is your labour costs. So if you're claiming for the time of any people who are working on the project, or your time most likely, or anybody else that might be involved, I just said projects because I'm so used to talking about projects in the proposal of what you're doing. So list what their role is within what you're proposing. Tell us what the cost of that employee is, how many days they'll be working at that cost, and that will calculate your labour costs. A lot of this stuff, as I said, is our kind of standard wording around these things, but we would expect that to be able to be evidenced through PAYE. Alternatively, if you're not paying yourself through a payroll, there are other ways you can support that through timesheets, etc. And there's some more guidance online about that. The next section is overheads. So if you are claiming for any overheads in relation to the work that you're doing, there's different ways you can calculate that within this system. So you can either select 20% of your labour costs, or you can say that you want to calculate your overheads, in which case there's a calculator will pop up for you to complete. And there's 2 different types of overheads within that. So there's indirect administration overheads. So this, again, this stuff is probably more relevant to sort of project work, but if there's sort of administrative people who are going to be supporting you and the work that you're doing, so it might be sort of, generally this would be sort of finance people or HR people, you can claim for the proportion of their time and any overheads relating to those people. And then direct overheads are any overheads relating to the people who are working directly on the project that you're doing. So you can claim for the overheads relating to those people. But the 20% of labour costs is usually the most straightforward way to go for that if you want to claim overheads. Material costs, so if you're planning to use the money to purchase any materials, list what the item is here, the quantity, the cost per item, and then that will calculate your materials costs. Then we have capital equipment, so if you plan to purchase any equipment, or you'll be using some equipment that you already own but you want to claim for some depreciation on that equipment, you can do that through this category. So we ask you what the item is, whether it's new or existing, how long you'll depreciate that over, value at the end, the value at the start, the value at the end, and you can claim for that difference. Then we have subcontracts. So if you are planning to use subcontractors or spend any of the money on subcontractors, we want to know who you plan to work with, where they're based. Now ideally we like to fund subcontractors in the UK because we want to be funding the UK supply chain, but appreciate that isn't always possible. There might be a very good reason why you need to go abroad to subcontract some work. So if that's the case, that's fine, you just need to justify why that is. Tell us briefly about the role that they'll do in the project and what the cost is. Now there's no limit to how much subcontracting you can have, or as I said, this grant is very flexible for what you want to use it for, so just make sure that you fully explain what that subcontractor will be doing and why it's necessary for the work that you want to carry out. Then we have travel and subsistence costs. So obviously it's fairly self-explanatory, anything around travel and subsistence that you're going to be travelling to meetings, for example, if you're attending conferences, whatever it is, you can list that here. And then finally, other costs is obviously anything else where you're going to incur costs, anything else that you need to spend that money on, you can list it out in this tab. So yeah, as I said, if you've got any queries around the kind of things you're planning to spend the money on and you're not sure whether it's eligible, it probably is, but you're welcome to get in touch with us so we can just clarify that with you. The main thing is we're really looking for value for money and to make sure that what you're proposing to spend the money on matches with what you're trying to achieve within your application. So when you've completed those categories, you'll be asked to tick the box to say that you're happy your project costs are eligible as defined in that guidance. As I said, there is a bit of flexibility here because of the nature of the funding. Then you will need to mark it as complete at the bottom of the screen, and then you can save that section. The next section we want to know about is your organisation. Now we ask this because in most R&D funding competitions that will affect the amount of grant you can receive. In this competition it's a bit different because you can receive 100% of that funding. But we ask you what size business you are, and then there's some information around the finances of your business. So that's not used in the assessment in any way. This is internal information for Innovate UK to use if you're successful. And then the last bit is your funding. So again, this is here because people would not be claiming the full 100%, but you can type 100% into this box, and that will mean you can receive the full £50,000. As we've said, there's no requirement to match fund. If you want to put money in as well on top of the £50,000, you can do, but there's no requirement. We just want to know what you're doing with that £50,000. If you are receiving any other public sector funding towards this work, if you're doing a project, if there's other funding coming into this, then you can tell us about that here. And just when you come to the final bit, just make sure that you are within the funding rules for the competition. So the maximum that you can ask for is £50,000. If you're asking for more than that, then you won't be eligible. You'll be ineligible for the competition. So just make sure that the maximum grant you are requesting falls within the criteria for this particular competition. The system won't flag if you're over 50,000, so it's really important that you make sure that you are meeting that criteria. You can ignore the bit about research participation. That's not relevant for this competition. So when you come to submit your application, once you've completed all of the different sections within the Innovation Funding Service, the system will check that you've marked your finances as complete and you've marked all the other sections as complete before you'll be able to submit. So it's really important that you make sure you've done that ahead of the deadline, so you're not there at 2 minutes to 12 frantically going through and hitting complete on everything. It does happen, unfortunately. So you go into each question and you can save it, but you can save it without hitting complete. But after you hit complete, you can still go back and edit it if you need to. It's not going to stop you from making changes, but just make sure that everything is marked as complete in enough time for you to hit submit before that midday deadline. And just make sure you give yourself enough time to kind of go through and just double check that you've put everything in, you're happy with it. Sometimes we find people have been doing it in a frantic rush in the last minute and they've copied and pasted the wrong thing into the wrong question, or they've copied the same thing into multiple questions, and unfortunately if you've submitted it or if it's past the deadline, we can't help you to change that. So do just make sure you give yourself plenty of time to double check what you've put in there. When you're ready to submit, you need to hit the submit my application button. It will ask you if you definitely want to submit. After this point, once you hit this button, you can't go back and edit it, and we can't edit it for you either, so just be aware of that. As we said, this just demonstrates by hour leading up to a big deadline that we had on a competition a few months ago when people submit their applications. So I know we keep going on about make sure you give yourself plenty of time and don't leave it till the last minute, but as you can see, most people do. Our support desk gets very busy. We would expect with this competition we're going to get a lot of applications, so make sure that if you do have any issues, we've got time to help you sort those out before the deadline. And once you've submitted your application, You'll see on your dashboard that that's been submitted. There'll be some information there about what's going to happen next, so it will go out for assessment. And then we'll obviously let you know if you've been invited to interview. You can go back into the service at any time and go and look at your application again. And if you're successful, you'll go there to set up your project or your work that you're doing with the grant after we've notified you that you've been successful. One more thing I'll just say as well about the IFS system. There is a link in there to invite collaborators. Obviously, these projects aren't collaborative. You may well have other people that might be helping you with your application from your organisation, but you don't need to click on that to invite any partners. Obviously, a lot of things that we run are collaborative, and the system is still sort of in development, so currently there's no way to remove that link, but you don't invite any partners in to join. If you invite partners, they would need to come in and put in their own finances, and that's not what this competition is about, so feel free to ignore the invite collaborators link that's in there. If you do want to invite other people to help you write the application, there's a link to invite contributors, which you can use. So I'm going to hand back to Emma now to just talk you through the assessment process and what happens after you've submitted.
Okay, so assessment. So all the applications are going to be assessed by an independent group of assessors that are from industry and academia, and this will be 5 assessors for each application. So you're going to have 5 independent assessors, each looking at your application independently and marking it in relation to the scoring matrix. And Emily showed you the scoring criteria if you're getting a 9 or a 10 score on really what you need to include in your answers. So they're really looking for clear and concise answers that are really matching the scoring matrix for the top score. That's what you're aiming for. And just the right amount of information. So there is a word limit on all the questions. So you need to provide the right level of detail, but also not make assumptions that they're going to know extra information. So just making it super clear in your answer, and also providing some quantification and justification. So if you're saying, oh, I'm really successful, explaining how, things like turnover or, units sold, that sort of thing, really just really defining that and justifying it and quantifying it. And really showing how you're innovative as well. That's very helpful. And just be enthusiastic, really sell yourself. This is your opportunity to sell yourself and show the assessors why they should select you, why are you the business that should be selected and supported. So the assessor feedback. So each of the assessors is going to not only score your application, but also going to provide you feedback on each of the questions. So as you can see here, on question 1, for example, in our standard competition, you would have your answer, and then you would be able to see the average score from the assessors, and then each of the feedback each of the assessors has given your applications. This is going to give you some feedback on areas of weakness or areas that you did well, things you can improve on to really help you grow your business. So interviews. So after the application process and after the assessment process, we're going to select the best applicants in each of the Grand Challenge areas to come in to interview. And as we mentioned before, you need to be available on both the 11th and 12th of December. Obviously, you'll only have one time slot, but keep both free until we actually tell you what the day and time of your interview is. We want to mention that you can bring a partner with you if that's appropriate, but the interview is really about you, about your business, what you're going to use the funding and the support package for, and really making us feel that you're the right business to fund. So in the interview, you'll have 10 minutes to present a presentation. This will be a maximum of 10 PowerPoint slides, so that's no videos, no embedded links, just to really explain your project. And also a key that we always recommend in the presentation is to address any weaknesses that the assessors have identified in the feedback. So if the assessors give you some feedback and say, there was no information about this, or this seemed very weak, really address that in this presentation, because this is your opportunity to show that you have thought about it and you have addressed it. There's then a 20-minute Q&A session led by members of the panel to really dig into your company and your business and you. And so the presentations will also be sent to the to the panel a little bit ahead of time, and you'll have everything you need for the interview. So we will be in touch, obviously, if you are selected for the interview, and give you a lot more information about exactly how that will be run. Thinking about project setup for successful applicants, this is something that's very important. So if you are successful and you are selected, we do need you to go back in IFS and start part of the project setup process. This is really important, so you can put in your bank details, so we can verify your bank, and we can do the financial checks required so that we can actually start releasing the funding, because if we don't have your bank details, we can't pay you. So it's really important that you go into IFS. You can click on your project details you need to complete and the bank details, and that helps us do the financial checks and actually release the funding. So as you can see, this is an overview, and you will need to do this, well, we advise it ASAP, but you have 90 days to be able to complete this section so that we can actually start giving out the funding. So how will the payments be made? As I mentioned earlier, so you're going to get 20% up front, 60% at the midpoint in your project, and then 20% at the very end. So claims can only be incurred and paid between the start dates. So don't rush ahead and start spending money and doing things that you want to be paid from this grant. Until we've said, okay, you can now start, this is the beginning of your 12-month period, because we're not going to be able to reimburse expenses that you're making now. It'll only be within that 12-month period. And each of the projects is going to be assigned a monitoring officer, so they're going to help monitor the project, monitor the progress, but also support you, which is very helpful, and sort of guide you through a little bit some of the things. And they'll also check, probably have regular meetings with you, and make sure everything's carried out against your project plan and your financial forecast. So we now move on to the Q&A. So now's the opportunity, if you have any questions about any of the things that we've covered so far, please ask, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Hi, I have a question regarding the one-year business in operation criteria. I remember you mentioned at the very beginning that the definition of that is a bit broader. So, for example, I have been working on my innovation for about more than a year, but I only officially incorporated my company this year. So, does that disqualify me from applying, or is there some way I can justify that?
So the key thing is that you have to have had a company. So if you've just been working on an idea, that doesn't necessarily make you eligible, but you need to have shown financial accounts. So even if you haven't necessarily registered your company with Companies House, if you can show that you created a company and you set up business accounts and you did financial activity for a period of greater than a year, then that would be eligible. But if you were just working on an innovation in your office, then no.
Okay, and sorry, I can't remember what I was going to. I'll come back to you afterwards.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Amanda Pickford. The question was, does the project have to run for 12 months? So you say it's a 12-month project, but can you run it over a 6-month period of time?
Yeah, go ahead.
So firstly, it doesn't have to be a project. The support that we're providing is over a year, so that wider package of support and the duration of the award is for a year. If you're saying that you want to spend the money,
yes.
So the money will be released in those tranches as set. So it will be 20%, 60%, 20%.
And that's on a term base. So that'll be the first quarter, the third quarter, and the last quarter.
So it will be, you'll get the first 20% up front at the beginning of when the grant starts. You will get the
bulk of the money
at the midway point. So
and that midway point is 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
And then you'll get the last 10,000 at the end when we've kind of reviewed everything and it's the final payment.
I just wanted to confirm, I'm not sure I missed the date, when you're confirming people have gone to interview, so what's the kind of time to prepare essentially between notification and then the interview date?
That's a good question. Normally it's about a month, isn't it?
the 23rd of November. I think I just looked at...
Oh, okay.
It's about 3 weeks.
We have got that on a big
Yes,
spreadsheet.
we do have that on a spreadsheet.
It's online as well. It's on the page on Innovate UK with all the key dates. It's on there.
Yes.
It's around the end of November, so you'll have a few weeks to prepare.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick one. What about the annexes? Because you only mentioned on one question where we can add some additional
so we have
information.
3.
There are 3.
It's question 1, question 2, and question 5, I believe.
1, 2, and 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But obviously, as you go into each question, it'll say you can attach an appendix to this question, and it will say what format. So you'll be limited. In most cases, I think it's to PDF, but some cases it can be an Excel. But that's really to support the information that you've put in the question. So please don't, please include all the information that you want to discuss in the question, and then it's just supporting information.
Sure.
So project plans, things like that, risk registers, that kind of thing is supporting information that you're attaching.
Thank you.
I've got a question about the state aid rules. So you mentioned the 200k euros.
Yes.
Is that received as a person or received by the company that you're applying from?
It's the company.
Yeah.
Company. Okay, so let's say if the state aid rules, so the company received a certain amount which will not allow you to apply for the 50k, is it a possibility to apply for less than 50k? Or the 50k is lump sum?
I don't know. Yeah, I think last time we said if you think there's an issue, contact us and we'll discuss it with you. So I think if you think there's an issue, get in touch and we'll talk that through with you. There is that option, yes.
Okay, because my question is, you have a lot of startups, you showed in your first slides, a lot of startups applying, and a lot of startups have access to SAIS, which I think is considered as state aid rules, so I don't know how...
I'm not sure it's considered as de minimis aid, though.
No, I think in that specific case that it would be best if you contact us with your specific scenario, if you have a startup, and then we can put you in touch with our finance department, and then we can sort of work out what would be eligible and what wouldn't. But even if this competition isn't suitable, there's lots of other funding opportunities available. So, even if you can't get this de minimis, there's other competitions that might be able to support you.
Okay, but get in touch to discuss.
Yes, absolutely, get in touch. So we have, I think at the end we've got, here we go. So here's all the customer support contact information, and then obviously to contact the Knowledge Transfer Network and our main website. So obviously please do get in touch.
Yeah, and if you go through customer support, they just field it straight out to the relevant person. So it's it'll come to the right person.
Yes.
And the fact is then it's logged on the system. They'll chase us to get back to you. It's the best way to do it to go through.
Are you sharing the slides?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So a recording of this event will be made available, and that will be on the website, so you'll be able to access all this at a later date.
Fantastic presentation. So sorry if I'm asking you to clarify something that you actually said. I wanted to go back to something you said about you can bring a partner if you want to. So if you could just provide a bit more clarification about if it actually has to be a female-only company or just a typically female-led company. And does that mean only one person? Because you said you can bring a partner if you want to.
Sorry, yes, that was a little bit confusing. So obviously your application, it is you as the founder, co-founder, or decision maker. But for the interviews, we understand, maybe you're an individual and has a disability, or you have someone that's supporting you, and you wish to bring them along, or there's other situations that you might want to bring someone, but the interviews could be about you, and the application's for you. But just for the interviews, you can bring someone if you need to.
And is it okay for it to be a collaboration, or does it have to be a single-led project?
Well, it's not really a project.
I'm calling it a project. What I mean is that if you want to advance something, so for example, if it's some kind of community thing that you want to advance, and I know for the lottery, for example, they like you to include the community and service leaders. So it's that kind of question. But thank you very much anyway.
So it's up to you how you use the support and how you spend the money. If you want to work with others and you want to pay them to work with you, then that's absolutely fine. But the award will go to you, and then it's up to you to decide how you use that money. So it's fine to work in partnership, but we're saying it's not a requirement to do so for this.
Okay, thanks. And do you want to see all receipts? I don't mean that in a funny type of way. But I mean, if you're working in collaboration with somebody, sometimes they may invoice you or... Anyway, I just wanted to know that.
So
I don't mean
the
it a
claims
shady
would
way.
need to be supported by evidence. So we need to see evidence that you've spent the money, so we can pay you it back.
Yeah. So the monitoring officer will work with you with that, and they'll verify all your claims. So they'll say, yes, I've seen all your receipts, and that's fine. So.
Hi, thank you very much. I think I have very clear picture about this FITI grant, the Women in Innovation. I just confused about the relation between this grant and the de minimis aid. What's the relation between these two?
So the de minimis aid is how we're funding, so how we're paying out the money.
With that to fund this?
Yes, yes. Okay. So we
it's
have
not two separate?
No, sorry. So the money you receive is the £50,000, and that's paid as de minimis state aid. So it's the a lot of our competitions are state aid or they're through other channels. So we're specifying that this is coming from de minimis, and that allows you to get 100% funding, whereas state aid, it's all dependent on the research category and the size of your business. So that's the difference.
And I'm sure a lot of you probably already know about de minimis aid, but it can come from any sort of public source. So you might get £50,000 from us, but if you're receiving money from other funders that's also under de minimis, then that would count towards that 200,000 limit that you can receive over 3 years. And it should always be very clear that the aid being given to you is de minimis, so you know that it's goes towards your allowance. So it can come from any public source, not just from us.
Hi, I have a question, and it's regarding the appendices for the questions.
Yeah.
Is there a limit as to the size of the page? Does it have to be A4 or can it be A3?
Oh, for the appendices? Oh, yes, that is a very good question. So it requires it to be A4 at 100% zoom, and you must have a font size that's legible, I think about size 10 font or greater.
There's a file size as well.
Yes, there is a file size, 1 megabyte.
Size.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I ask is one of the questions, especially the project management side, there's a lot of information you have to provide, and it's not all going to fit on A4.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can sort of break it across several
There's only 2 pages maximum.
I think some are 2
and the Gantt chart and the risk register, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 2 pages.
Yeah.
So I guess the 2 pages, is it double-sided or just 2 pages?
Just a single.
If it's printed, it's double-sided. But
yeah, so as it is a PDF, it's just 2 pages. But just use your best judgment. If you have to leave some of the information on so that you can leave some of the information off so that you can fit and it's legible, then just make your best judgment. Obviously, we understand that you can't provide all the information, so just try and give us some supporting information that's going to allow the assessors to assess that question.
Or I can just do a snapshot and then reference that if required.
Yes, absolutely, because we don't expect that this is all the information. So
okay, thank you.
Just to clarify on the budget point, is there any limitations on this round about the number that you can put towards POIE costs? So on certain rounds you have a capacity limit on like staff salary amount, but on this it's like your personal. So like I wouldn't, but if I did 50,000 just for my own POIE, are there any limitations on that in this particular scheme?
There's no limitations. It's like I said, it's around value for money. So I guess the assessors will be looking to see, or is that a is that
we wouldn't do it that way, but if there's no fix.
Or are they just over?
All right, thanks.
You mentioned that if you had received a previous Innovate UK award, that had to be in the process of being audited and finalised, or had to be finalised before you could be awarded this one.
So if you
so does this preclude me from applying for any future Innovate UK awards if I'm say I was in the happy position that I won, I was one of the winners,
yes.
Would I have to then wait for 12 months for the project to be finished?
No, not at all. No.
Okay.
And I think lots of the award holders from last time have applied for other things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the main, it's been a real building block to help them access
so
additional
absolutely, you can
Innovate
apply
UK funding.
for multiple different competitions, and in the future you can apply for competitions. It's just a point that when you finish a round of funding with us. So if we funded a competition, at the very end of that process, you do need to complete an audit to close out that project, and sometimes that is outstanding. So we do need that final audit to finalise that project to be completed, and if you have some of those outstanding, we're not able to award further funding. So that's all that
and if that does apply to you, you will know about it because we will have written to you and said this is outstanding. You need to do it before we
But
can.
so they can run I can apply.
Oh,
for it.
absolutely, absolutely.
Hello, my name is Beata. I'm from the Transport Systems Catapult. And my question is about balancing the applications and the winners between the grant challenges. You're expecting to choose 2 winners per grant challenge, but what if, let's say, all the ladies would like to apply to the Future of Mobility grant challenge?
So we will review that, and we'll make a judgment based on quality of applications received. So we'll review the balance. Ideally, we want to give 2 per area, but if the numbers and the quality don't match with that, then we will review that and do a different balance across. So.
I have a question about match funding. Let's say if we have another publicly funded project, 50% funded project, would we be able to use the 50k to match fund that?
No.
Okay.
So you cannot use other state aid as your matched funding for another competition or other receipt of state aid. That would have to come from your internal accounts.
Okay. I have another question about the project, as a lot of people calling it, because I'm used to the conventional Innovate UK projects where you have a technical focus or and you build the project towards that. But here it's a little bit confusing. Is it you as a person? Is it you and the business? I'm not very sure. If you could probably give me a scenario how a project could look like. For example, you are scaling up a business, so you as a person who can take the business forward and put tasks or whatever work packages as what exactly you want to do or you need to do to scale up the business. I'm still confused how.
So that's more in line with what we're looking for. So
and it's absolutely fine to do something if you're comfortable with that way of working and that fits with what you want to do, then it's fine to do it as a standard Innovate UK project would normally look like. But so one example of an award holder last time was the Somi Trailers lady, so Pauline Dawes. She actually used a majority of the funding to allow her to take that truck out and about across the UK. So it wasn't a project, it was literally enabling her to take the trailer to customers, to show them the truck. And there's a huge cost involved in that without the grant, it would have made that very difficult. And she had to get customers to come to her, which is a bit of a barrier in terms of getting sales. So that's just an example of how flexibly the money can be used here. But yeah, it's fine to structure it around
I think no eligibility or restriction on how exactly you will use the money.
No, I think the key thing is that we're looking for companies that are trying to scale up or do something different, take a risk, be innovative and do something else. We don't want business as usual. So that's not what we're here to fund. We're looking for women that are just like, I have this idea, I just need some money to expand, reach new customers, that sort of thing.
Hi, my name is Tatiana. I just had a follow-up question on the de minimis requirements. So if we've applied for a different project, which is state aid but not de minimis, they are not taken into account. So we don't need to. We may exceed 200,000 for the total, provided the other is not de minimis, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Most of our competitions that we run are not de minimis, and they come under a different state aid article. So it should be very clear if something is de minimis, it should say. So yeah, if you've applied to anything else from us, it won't be de minimis.
Thank you.
Unless it was Women in Innovation before.
So we have a few questions that have come in from online. One from Alex who says, I work for a charity which is also an SME. Am I eligible?
Yeah.
Yes. Question from Lisa. I have a question on costs, please. Subcontracts and outsourcing. Do I need to know now the exact company or individual that will be awarded the contract, or is it okay to say how I plan to tender this?
So absolutely, you don't need to state I'm working with partner.
Well, ideally, we would
subcontractor.
want to
I mean,
know.
yeah, I mean ideally, but if you know I need to get a subcontractor and this is how much I've allocated for that, then that would also be acceptable.
Yeah,
But if you already know who you're working with, that's
so
better.
ideally we'd want to know, so the assessors can assess your application, you know, to know who you're going to be working with. Obviously, if it's an unknown, then that's more difficult for them to assess and tell whether, you know, whether it's the right people, whether it's good value for money. So really, we would ideally want that information up front. If you absolutely can't, then tell us how you're going to go out and find them.
And maybe that's partly some of the help that we
Yeah,
can offer
yes.
in doing that. So I think it's just setting it out and explaining. If you can't say why it is, then why that is and what help you need.
Thank you. From Cynthia, is it possible to receive the fund through the company's bank account?
Yes.
Yes,
It will
that
be
would,
paid
that would
to
be
the
how we're
company.
paying.
Great.
Yeah, it would always be the company bank account that we're verifying. So in project setup, you'd be providing the company's bank account, and that's what we do the financial checks through, and that's what the funding will be released to.
We can't pay it to your
personal account.
Just to clarify.
So just have two more questions from online. So we have, where will the interviews be held, or is that yet to be decided?
Yet to be decided, probably London though. We tried Swindon last time and it didn't work so well, so I think it probably will be London.
And last question from online, how can we show that costs have been incurred if the first tranche of funding is provided up front? Does up front mean the first quarter of the year?
It will be provided up front, but then we would, I think the monitoring officer would work with you to check that you are using that money as you said you're going to use it.
Yeah, so you have a project plan and sort of say how you're going to use that first bit of money and what you'll do with it.
So it's payment in advance of need, but it'll balance out over the time, and we'll expect to have evidence of how the money has been spent.
What was the average score of the previous winners?
It was high. Yeah. I can tell you that, but I can't remember off the top.
No, I can't remember.
No, but it was
high. We had a lot of very good quality applications last time.
It was about 85% combined with interview score and
yeah.
So tough competition.
Yeah, it was very competitive last time, and
it was. Yeah,
great applications.
Okay, we've got some more questions. Let's try and get through all the questions.
But obviously, if we don't get to you, you're very welcome to contact our customer support, and we can provide more answers, especially to your niche questions, if it pertains to your specific business.
So if we work with universities, is there any limitations on subcontract universities, academic partners?
No, again, it's whatever you want to spend the money on, and we're just looking to see that it's being spent appropriately and it's value for money, but there's no limits around that. So if that's what you need to do, then that would be a valid way to spend the money.
Thank you.
A question about eligible costs. I would probably use the money to hire a new staff member. Would I need to have identified who that is, and would recruitment fees be considered part of the eligible costs, or
yeah, that
not?
would be fine.
Yeah. And do I need to know who it would be?
You don't necessarily need to know who, but you need to put in the role, job title, how many people at that role, and the salary you're wishing to pay them, and that will be in the.
Obviously, tell us a bit about why you need them,
yes.
what they're going to be doing, and but that would be a valid thing to use.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. Thanks.
Okay, some more.
Hi, my name's Aska Malik. I'm founder of Atmospherics. I applied to a Innovate UK open competition last year and got rejected. The feedback was not clear. Is there any way that I can have my application can I get some help with it to reapply for this one?
Well, the KTN would be a good source of helping you with the application. So we do try and work closely with our assessors to ensure that you're getting good, constructive, helpful feedback. But obviously these are 5 independent assessors, and the feedback quality can vary greatly.
Okay.
Just on the Markham criteria, so it said that the rounded score was 85% between the written and the interview stage. Just wanted to check sort of what the process is. Is it the 5 same assessors who are in the interview? Is it marked?
No.
Again, sort of what's the process
No.
for the assessment at interview, I guess, to make the final decision?
It's a different set of people that will be at the interviews. The assessment is as kind of has happened, so we'll be looking more at the interviews at the added value of the award to the individual, and that will be really what we'll be focusing on, i.e. who in giving out the awards, who's going to get most value and where's the impact going to be greatest.
So you could have technically scored slightly lower than someone, but your interpersonal presentation in the interview might mean that you win it in that way.
It's not about your presentation skills, it's more about the value that grant is going to deliver.
So the written stage is really to get you to the interview, and then the final decision will be based on the outcome of that interview panel. So you need to score highly enough to get there, and then on the day you'll be competing with the other people in the same category as you.
So we're planning to invite to interview twice as many people as we can offer the awards to. So 50% success rate if you get to interview.
Hi, I'm Allegra and I'm from the NHS Innovation Accelerator. Does the application have to come specifically from a small business, or can it be from a support function or sort of aspect of a business? Maybe it's better if I speak to you individually, it's a bit niche.
I think that's, we'd be able to provide a more nuanced answer if you contact our support.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we've got...
I have remembered the second half of my question. And it is still going back to the 1 year route. So I do have those accounts and all of those track records. But if I remember correctly, based on your screenshot of the application form, the only place where it asked me how old my company is would be the very beginning when I put in my company house details. And that would obviously be less than 1 year. So where about in the application form I would be able to justify that the business is been up and running for more than a year, just that the official setup was more recent?
Obviously you could include that in the scope section, just say, I'm in scope, I can provide proof and financial details that I've been operating for longer than this. But so we won't
and in
just...
question 2 on the application as well, exactly what's the current stage your business is at.
So it's not just like based on the date.
No, we don't just check company house and cut off.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
As this is all about women in innovation, so are you going to make an effort in terms of assessors and the panel and make sure that the percentage of women is higher than men?
And actually Eve here has done some great work to try and boost the numbers of women we've got as assessors. So we've made a big stride forward on that, and certainly at the interview panel it's easier because we'll be selecting people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
I was just wondering, in terms of project costs, or should you put in, so if your project is going to cost more than 50k, should you put in how much everything will cost, but that you're only, but then show what you're going to use the money from this competition, the 50k from this competition for? Does that?
I think where are you going to get the rest of the project funding from? Would be the question that if I was an assessor I would ask.
Okay.
So, do you see
well,
what I mean?
If you had Innovate UK funding for the technical part of your project, could you discuss, just to show that there's more than just that small, 50k wouldn't necessarily go that far, maybe just to show the technical side and how this is covered, or does that not help?
If you put the cost that you put in there for the 50,000, show what you're going to use that on. But in your application, if you're doing other broader work around this and you've got funding from an investor or from other public sources or whatever it is, talk about that in your application.
And show how,
But in the cost section, just focus on what you're using this 50k for.
Okay, thank you.
So how what we're supporting would contribute to that wider.
Yeah, because as long as at the end when you've clicked complete on your project finances, that has to say 50k or less, otherwise it'll be thrown out. So.
Hi. If my business fits into 2 challenge grant, how is the assessment going to be made? Is it going to go through 2 rounds?
No, so we're going to ask you to select the one challenge area that is the closest alignment to what you're working on in your business.
Okay.
You'll also be asked to say, is it relevant to another one? And you'll have the opportunity to do that. But we are asking you to select the best fit.
So, okay, whichever I select would be the main assessment group it goes to?
Yes.
Yes.
Unless we override that in the office, I guess. But it won't be double jeopardy. We won't assess your application twice.
Thank you. Sorry, my name is Natasha Victor from Cybernexus UK. Thank you very much for the information provided today. I spoke to customer service or customer support before on the telephone, and they were very helpful. But just in terms of clarifying the charitable status, so there are some of the big four have offered to sort of invest in this idea, but they're not allowed to invest in commercial ventures. So in terms of the charitable aspect, if you weren't generating money, but you had sort of a great idea that you wanted to roll forward, is that still, are you still eligible for that in terms of funding?
So we had this question last time, and there was some wording that was provided around
around how to define your business.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think you have to show that you're doing economic activity was the key thing, wasn't it, to be able to.
Right. So you need to have money going in, and so did you specify earlier that it was for at least 6 months before you applied?
A year.
For a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need to have funding, because the what I had understood was that you were also interested in the sort of startups as well, and this was from the customer support team. So there has been activity going on for at least a year, but not, money in terms of being received. So would that have an impact on your application?
So you don't have to have money necessarily coming in or making a profit, but in that year we need to see that you've had a business bank account and that you've had business finances and there's been movement financially as a business for a period of a year.
Okay, so if that wasn't the case, then you would say you'd need to really apply next year, once that has been established, would you?
Yeah, you wouldn't be eligible, I guess.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be eligible in this round. So,
okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Nick Carey from Waysphere. For the avoidance of doubt, I identify as a man. And I'm very much in a support role and a bid. But I think there's something that would certainly clarify things about Innovate UK's industrial challenges, which would help us all, which is that the industrial challenge, the industrial strategy seems quite broad, these big grand challenges, that's great. But when you look at the exemplars, they're unbelievably narrow. So trying to fit a bid to one of those tiny little niches seems like impossible. So what's the relationship between the kind of the big ticket items like artificial intelligence and the exemplification?
So I think that's why we're suggesting come and speak to us over networking so we can discuss your individual cases. We are not just focusing on the exemplars, but nor are we saying this is an open door to everything that could possibly be relevant. So, there's a bit of judgment there, and we'd like to discuss that with people that want to make the application if there's a question over that. So that's not a crystal clear answer, but I'm saying the exemplars are not the be-all and end-all. You don't absolutely have to match the exemplars that are given. Because at the moment they are just, my understanding is that they're working through and that new ones will be coming down the line. So the current examples are the ones that have been worked up, and that will evolve in the future. But there does have to be a very clear fit with the overall missions for the grand challenges and what they're looking to achieve. We've got a question down here. Can you wait for the microphone?
Are you going to run this competition for every 2 years, or you will have one next year?
We can't confirm that we'll be running it next year. Ideally, the aim is that we can encourage women to apply for funding in our competitions and increase women applying for all of our competitions for all the different sectors that we run. As you can see, we're now up to 24-25% in our general competitions of women applying, but we can't make any comment if we're running it again next year, we don't know that.
We'll be reviewing, ongoing review of how things are working. And as I said, we've got the awards, we've got our building success events, and there will be other programmes that will be coming along. So it may be that there isn't an awards exactly like this, but there will be some other opportunity for women innovators to bid into.
Okay, thank you. It's a very good event, I would thought. It's a very good competition.
Thank you.
Hello, Sandra Murphy again from Equidiet. Just while I've been talking to you, one of the challenges have popped up on my email, which relates to my actual sector, which is fantastic. There is an actual briefing for that sector. Does it relate to the same sort of funding and the same support and everything that comes with this type of event that you're holding today? Or because it's more of a general challenge?
So, what are you saying? You've had an email about another competition? It will be different to this.
Yeah,
I
so
guarantee.
it'll be different to this.
This is pretty unique.
So the award will be different, and the support network will be different.
Absolutely, yeah.
So basically, go along to that briefing and find out.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. But I will be able to get some help today, even though it's not the sector that we're in.
Definitely.
Yeah, super job. Thank you.
And also just a point that if you are unsuccessful in actually receiving the 50k and one of the 8 successful applicants, we do in the unmarked questions ask if you do want to be contacted and provided with more support, so put in touch with the KTN or the EEN or other places where we can provide you with more support for your company and your business. So if you do want to be contacted, please do put that in the unmarked questions, that's a yes or no question if you want to be contacted further.
And from your application, we'll know, because you'll have specified where you think you could benefit from the support available. So we'll have that information to share, and so that people can help you in the areas that you want that support. Okay, any more? Okay, let's do a couple more, and then I think we should break for networking, but we're still around. So.
Is that could you give us some idea of if you are expecting, or maybe from previous year experience, of any challenge to be underrepresented?
So based on our experience in 2016, I think I showed you the pie chart. Infrastructure systems had 7% of the applications. Whether or not that will be the same this time around.
Yeah, of course, but obviously there are many challenges going on for different, for each of the industries or potential industries. So have you done any research with the other areas of Innovate UK to see whether people is not moving enough in infrastructures, or maybe not, I don't know. Any ideas for prospection for this year?
I would say...
or maybe you're not just worried because it was a broad approach to that. Thank you.
I'm nervous about how people will take the response. I mean, I think it'll probably follow a similar pattern to before, I would imagine, based on what we know. But hopefully we have engaged a different set of women this time as well, so we've gone wider than last time, so it may look different.
But definitely in some industries women are underrepresented.
Yeah,
as
of
well,
course.
so
Yeah,
that's why
yeah,
I was asking.
yeah.
This is a question about something that you already covered partially, but I'm still a little bit confused about the job title. So which kind of job title you need to have? For example, if manager, is it enough? Executive, is it good or not? And also because basically you spoke about being accountable on your organization budget. So which is the requirement exactly? That's what I want to clarify.
I think what we're trying to say is that you don't need to ask anybody for permission to apply, and that when the money is delivered, because it will go to the business, it won't go to you. You need to have control over that money when it comes to the business. And again, you don't need to ask special permission to release that budget, and it doesn't get lost in a bigger kind of pool of activity. It's for you. you can determine that. You can make decisions about how that money is
So
spent.
it's more about who is accountable in the specific budget area more than the job title, isn't it?
Sure, but I think what we're when we're looking at what we're supporting through the awards, we're talking about, you know, what is the business opportunity you're looking to develop, and so it's about, again, you playing a role in the company that is going to transform the company with what you do with the award, not necessarily just a little tiny bit of work that's going on that won't actually
I think we need an offline conversation.
Yeah, sure. And it's not black and white, but yes, I think that's probably one that's better to do.
Hi. You mentioned that you expect the award winners to dedicate 5 days for.
Yes.
Well, can you explain a bit what is expected for this 5 days activities?
Okay, so we'll be wanting you to. We'll ask you to help us develop case studies. We did lots of videos with our other award holders. So again, there's time involved in that. We'll invite you to speak at events. Like with the photography exhibition we did with Getty Images, there was time involved in that. We ran some events alongside that. It's all stuff that is going to help you to raise your profile and get your stories out. So I think hopefully you would see it as being, all these things would be a good opportunity for you. We wouldn't force you to do anything, but there will things like the material for case studies. We'll invite you to write blogs. We did lots of stuff with Huffington Post last time. Press interviews, that sort of thing. So quite broad. And so the Getty Images partnership was a really big element of the campaign last time around. We're looking to try and do something equally fantastic for the award holders next time, which we don't know what that will be, but there will be, time associated with you getting involved in that. Okay, we've got... Helen,
hi. With respect to the support part, so not the money, but the support part of it, you mentioned, I was just thinking in terms of who's providing that at the moment. You mentioned the catapults, I think, were involved, and the European network. Can you just give us a bit more sense of who's already as partners of that, as part of the delivery panel for giving that support?
So basically what we're saying is we're going to work across our whole family to help you, and then we're bringing in the senior business mentors on top of that. So the senior business mentors, to start with them, we will be recruiting business people who have direct sector relevant expertise and also who have experience in setting up their own companies that can provide you with strategic advice around the stuff that we discussed with Christine earlier. The Knowledge Transfer Network, they have sector experts who can help you make connections with other companies. They have a team that devotes time to providing advice around access to funding and finance for companies, so introductions to investors, for example. Emma can build on that maybe. The Enterprise Europe Network, last time we worked very closely with a team of innovation advisors who are people that run the Innovate to Succeed programme across the UK, which is all about helping high growth potential companies. So they have a suite of tools and coaching that they provide to those companies, and we provided that support to our award holders. We're thinking it will be a bit more flexible this time in terms of the way that we work with the Enterprise Europe Network. Kira's here, actually, she might want to chip in. But so rather than saying it's definitely going to be an innovation advisor that's running the Innovate to Succeed programme, actually are there other ways that the Enterprise Europe Network could support the award holder? Is it more about accessing, global markets, for example? So is it more of an international expert they need? So we'll try and find the right person in each of these organisations that we're working with to support the award holders. And then with the catapults, it may not be relevant to all the award holders, but we've got this network of world-leading facilities. Again, lots of expert advice around sector-specific stuff and access to bits of kit, equipment that can help companies where that's appropriate. So it's about tailoring the right people, the right parts of the organisations that we're working with to the needs of the award holder. Okay. I think we had a question down here, and then maybe I think
last question.
That needs to be it. Yeah.
2 quick questions. Who determines the eligibility? So in terms of whether or not you fit into the Grand Challenge or not, is that the assessors or is that another panel?
So we will do an internal review, but it's also being scored. It's one of the questions that's being scored.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other question related to the 5-day support.
Yes.
If you had kind of ideas about how you could make impact as well,
Yeah.
in addition to the kind of program that you, would that presumably be welcome? Thoughts?
Be very welcomed, yes, yeah. And we work with a PR agency, Helen Knowlton, who supports all of our campaign work around this. So we would sort of work with them and yeah, bounce ideas off each other. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we better leave it there. As I said, we're all going to be out there until the end of the event, so come and talk to us if you've got any more specific questions. There are tables for each of the 4 Industrial Strategy Grand Challenge areas. Thank you so much for coming along today. I look forward to hearing more from you over the networking time, and if you put in an application, good luck.